Oh, I know.
Get ready to fly. Flight 527 ready for departure. Get ready to fly.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zachary Nolan. Welcome back. I'm being a little quieter because it is currently technically still the morning, and I am at my girlfriend's place, so I don't want to be too loud. But the Winnipeg Jets lose 4-3 to the Washington Capitals. There's a couple good storylines to talk about this game. Well, unfortunately, one to start with is Eric Comrie is 0-3. The Jets are 0-3 in the Eric Comrie era, and it's not great. And you know what? I don't think this is all on Eric Comrie. I think perhaps every single game there's maybe a goal that you can point to and say maybe Connor Hellebuyck would have had that, but it's not because there's an expectation that Comrie should stop, make saves that he's not making. It's more or less between a great goalie and an all-star goalie and an MVP goalie. It honestly, one thing that I kind of take from this game is that the Jets don't understand what their bottom nine's identity is. And that's not a good sign because in past Jet seasons, we've at least had two lines that have understood their identity, the top line and the third line. Last year, we were kind of blessed. All lines just kind of seemingly knew what they wanted to do. But a big problem this year is that they've mixed the lines around, and I don't hate that, but nobody is connecting with anybody. So if you look at the goal scoring today, it's 2 goals from Gabe Vilardi and 1 goal from Mark Scheifele. If the Jets get any secondary scoring last night, they tie that game. They get a point. They at least come out with a point. But they don't get a single secondary scoring goal in that game. And Washington's been kind of up and down. I think Washington is still one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. However, and you can't take a night off against them. And it's a tough building a plan, like Scott Arniel said in the postgame interview. It's a tough game to start in, but the Jets just haven't played a full 60. And it's funny because if you look at them analytically, the last 3 games, they've won. All 3 deserve to win meters, but the goals aren't coming. They're not getting enough run support, if you buy into the baseball terminology, for their goaltenders. And I feel like it's tough. It's tough. But let's talk about another main storyline. Elias Salomonsson. So I guess now that the cat is out of the bag, I'm working for Illegal Curve for 3 weeks. That's why the pre-intro was a Brad Lambert ice cold bar down snipe. Love that. We'll get to Moose Watch in a minute, which it'll be a very special episode for me. But Elias Salomonsson makes his debut in Washington. He records 1 block shot, 2 hits, 0 shots on net, and is a -2 on the night. They paired him with Dylan Sandberg. I don't think he played that bad. I think that this was kind of a learning experience for him. The first goal that he's on the ice for, one, he overskates, and it ends up being a Connor McMichael breakaway back the other way, and they score, and that's unfortunate. The other goal is basically him trying to block a shot and going past him and over Eric Comrie. It's a good shot from John Carlson, but I don't think Elias Salomonsson played it wrong. Maybe you want to come up with a block there, but he tried his best. It's an interesting situation, though, because Neil Pionk is listed as day-to-day. Now, I hope Elias Salomonsson gets another opportunity here, but he's kind of getting thrown to the wolves right now. The Jets are kind of hemorrhaging goals right now. They're hemorrhaging goals, and they're hemorrhaging losses. And you can't put all of the onus on the new kid on the block. And I don't at all. I think Elias Salomonsson played okay. Did he have a great game his first game? No. And you know what? You know how many people don't have great games in their first games? Most of them. Most people don't. I think one thing that Elias Salomonsson was doing great though was he was trying to make things happen, and I appreciate that. I like seeing a young player that has that kind of spark, that has that intuitiveness to be like, I want to make plays. So often we see young players thrust into larger roles and they become kind of passive and they don't necessarily want to push the play. They just want to stay in the lineup. And I appreciate that Elias Salomonsson was trying to make plays out there. Whether they worked or not was a different story. So I thought he played okay tonight. Obviously, he's going to need to settle in a little more, but I think he's well on his way to starting an NHL career, and I don't say that lightly. And I know I've said that about in the past about other Jets prospects, but I will say that Elias Salomonsson should have the pedigree to at least make it as an NHL defenseman. Let's go through this game, I guess. The Jets just don't get the start they want. They gave up 2 in the first. Now, fortunately, Gabe Vilardi scores late in the first just to get a lead. And then they tie it early in the second. But then the wheels fall off again. They give up 2 straight, and then it's Mark Scheifele scoring late to kind of get them back in the game, but they're still chasing. And the puck's basically on the line at the end of the game, and they just can't put it in. And it's unfortunate. So, quickly, what time is it? Moose Watch! It's Moose Watch, so I'm very happy about this. So Dave of Illegal Curve was covering the Jets last night. So he gave me the keys to the Moose. So I was at the press box for my first Moose game. I also went to morning skate. I talked to a couple guys. We'd interviewed Mason Shaw, and we'd interviewed that morning Samuel Fagamo and Tyrell Bauer. A couple days before, we interviewed Dom and Shaw, and then now come to think of it, we interviewed or Dom and Anderson Dolan, and then so post game we interviewed Dominic DiVincentis, Mason Shaw, and Bob Nardella. Now I'm going to play the 3 clips of the questions I asked in those scrums.
With our systems and just continuing on.
How much of an adjustment is it going from a high amount of shots in the first period to 4 shots in the second and then kind of resetting for the third?
Yeah, it's a bit of a difference. You know, you get going all of a sudden in the first, and then in the second you kind of get a little bit of a break. But I think that's the biggest part about being a goaltender. That's the mental capability that a goalie needs to have, is to be able to face a lot of rubber and then take that time in that second period that we get on them. But at the same time, you got to stay ready for when that next shot comes. And I think that was the game plan today. It can be a little tough to finish sometimes, but.
After first period where you guys were outshot, seeing the amount of shots you put up in the second period and then kind of building upon that with late power play success, how big is that to kind of go into the third period and maybe not play the whole 40 minutes that you would have liked, but then kind of still have a big lead from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think after the first period, we just talked about passing up shooting opportunities. I mean, we were in the right spots. We were getting looks. We were just passing up opportunities. So the second period, we bared down a little bit. We started putting more pucks to the net, and obviously it's an old cliche, but good things happen when you do that. So it was nice to get rewarded, but I think that second period is kind of the standard that we need to have going forward.
About how important it is to see this game kind of get pulled away with a really good 5-on-3 power play for the team. How important was it to get 2 late goals in the second period and kind of capitalize on your chances?
Yeah, it's special teams a lot of times will win and lose you games, and tonight the penalty kill held true with not allowing a power play goal, and that was a big part of that was Dom. He made some really, really good saves when we were shorthanded. And obviously the power play went 2 for 4, and it's 50%. That's really high, and that's really good. So, for everybody, it's just a good now 5-on-5 special teams. If you get that going in the game, you're good. The first period we weren't really too happy with, but everything else was good.
Yes, I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy. If you want to see the full scrums, the Manto and Moose have posted them on their Twitter. You can find them there. But yeah, it's very surreal. I don't mean to be yawning so much. I'm used to getting up early, and this is an inclusion of that timetable. But yeah, It's a very awesome experience to cover an AHL hockey team. I really enjoy it, and you know what? Some nights it's probably better than NHL because you get to ask your questions. Like when I was in an NHL scrum a few days ago for the Wild game and the Carolina game, it's everyone. It's whoever's loudest asks. And I'm not saying there's any disrespect there. Everyone's being respectful, but it's a very vastly different situation to Moose, where it's just three of us. It's me, Goose, and Conrad. So we all got our questions in, which was nice. But yeah, Moose win, a big win, 5-1 over the Belleville Senators. Notables, honestly, this team just has depth for days. They had a terrible first period. They got outshot 11-4, but they didn't give up a single goal. And then they outshot, or 11-3, I think. And then they outshot the Belleville Senators 21-4 in the second period and scored 4 goals. So they can turn it on when they want. And I also think that the prospects look good on it. Brad Lambert looks good. He has to look good. We've tried to talk to him, and they haven't given us Brad Lambert. So we're like, okay, it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, so that's it for Moose Watch, I think. But yeah, Jets fall 4-3 in Washington. So now they're going to Carolina. I'm like, oh boy. They have Carolina and Nashville on a back-to-back. So the interesting thing here is, if you're the Jets... Oh, the dogs are barking. I don't know what the dogs are barking about. If you're the Jets, you run Comrie on Carolina, and you run Milic in Nashville. So we could have another debut on our hands this weekend. I'm going to be at the Moose Saturday, Sunday for their game, so I'll let you know how that goes. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. 3 stars of this game. First star is going to go to Gabe Velarde. Second star, Mark Scheifele. Third star, Elias Salomonsson for his debut. Honorable mention is going to go to Josh Morrissey, who's continued to rake. And yeah, that'll be all. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next time.
Back again, far side, quick shot, deflected in front, they score! Cole Perfetti with a deflection! 1.6 seconds left! In the third period, the Jets have tied it up at 3! Holy smokes!